All right, folks, welcome back. We are going to take a look at some of the more commonly missed problems on our Week 5 homework assignment, starting with problems number 23 and 24. So let's take a look at number 23 first here. So it says that we need to evaluate the expression without using a calculator. So we end up here having this whole expression that we're going to have to use our order of operations, and we want to evaluate this, meaning we should end up with just a single number at the end. So we have 13 plus 25 times 6 squared minus 8 minus 1 times the square root of 25. All right, so let's go ahead and write this down to start out. Okay, so we have 13 plus 25 and then we have a bracket. No operation in here, meaning we're multiplying. So we've got 6 squared minus parentheses 8 minus 1 times the square root of 25. Sorry, it's a little bit messy there. Okay, so let's begin to evaluate this. So first off, guys, let's remember our order of operations. So we'll write this up here. PEMDAS, PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So remember, guys, you use that order of operations. That's a strict set of rules telling us what order we need to perform all of these operations in. So the P here starting out stands for our parentheses. So we need to look for the innermost set of parentheses or grouping symbol. So we notice that we have these brackets here. However, inside of these brackets, we have another set of parentheses. So these would be our innermost set of grouping symbols, these parentheses. So we can start off by performing our operations inside of these parentheses. Another quick note here, guys, notice that you have a square root sign. That square root sign can be thought of as a grouping symbol as well. So you can go ahead and perform this square root of 25, which we will. All right, so this entire mathematical expression is equivalent to, or is the same thing as, I'm just going to have to rewrite some things to start out, 13 plus 25 times 6 squared minus. And now we reach our innermost grouping symbol, 8 minus 1. That is 7. All right, and notice that this parentheses and this square root here, there's no operation in between, meaning that it is multiplication. I'll go ahead and put a symbol there for multiplication. And we can treat this square root as a grouping symbol as well. What is the square root of 25? That would be 5. Okay, so now, still working with parentheses, all right? We have our next set of grouping symbols here, which is our brackets. So we need to go ahead now and evaluate everything inside of these brackets, and we're still following our rules here. So there are no more parentheses or grouping symbols inside of our bracket. However, there is an exponent right here. All right, you have a base of 6 and a power or an exponent of 2. So that's where we need to go next. So this entire mathematical expression is equivalent to, rewriting, we have 13 plus 25, and we have our bracket, 6 squared, 6 times 6 is 36, minus, and we have 7 times 5. So 7 times 5, guys, notice that is the next thing, that's multiplication, that comes after exponents here. So let's go ahead and perform that multiplication. What is 7 times 5? That would be 35. right. So the last thing that we would need to do to take care of this grouping symbol is subtract 36 minus 35. So this mathematical expression is equivalent to 13 plus 25 and times, once again, notice that there's no operation between the 25 and this expression inside of the brackets, so we know there's multiplication here. 36 minus 35, that would just be 1. All right. So in the end here, guys, we have 13 plus 25 times 1. Multiplication comes before addition, but 25 times 1, remember anything times 1 is just itself. So really we just have 25 here. So when it's all said and done, what we have is 13 plus 25. So 25 plus 13, that would be 38. Okay. And we will just check that to make sure. 25 plus 13, 25 plus 13 equals 38, exactly as we got there. Okay, so let's take a look at the next question, which is 24. 24 is very similar. Instructions are the exact same. Evaluate the expression without using a calculator. So let's go ahead and get this expression written down. We'll first clear our whiteboard. And we'll change the color so we don't get too bored here. So we have negative 4 times the square root of 1.44 minus 6 and end our parentheses. Okay. So first thing again, I want to remind us our order of operations is important here. PEMDAS. All right, so let's get started here. So first things first, parentheses. So notice we do have a set of parentheses, which means that we are going to have to take care of everything inside of that set of parentheses first, meaning that this negative sign on here, that's going to come at the very, very end. All right, and is there any other grouping symbols inside of this set of parentheses? Remember from last problem there is, all right, a square root is a grouping symbol. So we need to take care of everything inside of this square root, and in this case it's just going to be to perform the square root of 1.44 itself. Now when we're looking inside of the square root, if we kind of think about it, the square root of 1.44, that would be kind of difficult to figure out on its own. However, what we can do is imagine that we move this decimal place once 2 spots to the right. And instead of having 1.44, imagine that we have 144. All right, so in a way, we really can be thinking about what is the square root of 144. Well, the square root of 144, that is equal to 12. Another way to think about that would be 12.0. Remember what that means, guys, is that 12 times 12 is 144. That 12 times 12 is equal to 144. All right, but remember that we did not start with 144. We actually had 1.44. All right, so our job then is to come up with what number times itself, what times what, is 1.44. Sorry, gonna have to cram that in there. All right, so notice guys that we moved this decimal 144.0. You've moved that once, twice to the left. So we need to have 2 decimal places accounted for, which we can get by rewriting our 12s as 1.2s. 1.2. All right, so 1.2 times 1.2, that is going to be equal to 1.44. In other words, the square root of 1.44 is 1.22. Excuse me, 1.2. I was too used to repeating those numbers there. 1.2. So we can rewrite our original expression that is equivalent to negative. So we have -4 here. Once again, no operation connecting this -4 with the square root, meaning that there is multiplication. And we just saw that the square root of 1.44 is 1.2. And we still have -6. Let's get out our calculator just to show that. I don't have it out currently. So the square root of 1.44, 1.44. So when we square root this, we should get 1.2. There you go, 1.2. Okay, so moving on to the next step. We're still inside of this parentheses, all right, and we need to perform our order of operations inside here. So notice we have -4 times 1.2 minus 6. So multiplication is going to come before subtraction, right? The M comes before the A. So we still need to multiply 4 times 1.2. All right, so let's go ahead and change our color. We're going to do some more side work over here. So we're going to have 4 times 1.2. Right? So remember guys that we can just basically treat this as 4 times 12. We'll just need to account for this 1 decimal place that we have over here at the end. So first off, 2 times 4. That is 8. We bring down a 0. 1 times 4, that is 4. So what do we get when we add these two together? 0 plus 8 is 8. 4 plus 0 is 4. But remember, you have this 1 decimal place that you need to account for. So our 48.0, moving this decimal 1 spot over, gives 4.8. So this will be equal to negative parentheses. So -4 times 1.2. Excuse me, I forgot that this was a negative up here, but a negative times a positive, we know always results in a negative. So that's a negative 4.8. And we still have a -6 here. All right, so we have negative parentheses, negative 4.8 minus 6, and we're still inside of this parentheses. And I'm running out of time, guys, but just so we can get everything on here, I'm just going to use our calculator. So we have a negative 4.8, so we have 4.8, a negative 4.8 minus 6, and that is a negative 10.8. So we have negative parentheses, negative 10.8. All right, and basically, guys, this negative out front here can just be thought of as a -1. So we have a -1 times negative 10.8. And a negative times a negative is always a positive, and anything times 1 is just itself. So